Work on this a little bit longer and then move on. And I think I'm gonna make her eyes smaller. Just so it fits her reference. This a bit. Yeah, I was a bit random with her. I was like this. I was like, do it. I regret nothing. No, you didn't have to delete that. That could have stayed. I mean, it doesn't matter. It shows up on the stream anyway. I guess it's based off of the chat box that I'm using. Clean up a few things here and there before we start moving on to color. Should be good. Let's just clean up some of our lines. Hello, hello. Do I want to do more of the background, or do I want to just leave it alone? I think I'll keep it simple. But we'll probably do some effects to make it interesting. Alright. Looking at it, be like, alright, what's the most annoying thing to color on this? Probably the metal, but I'm sure I could make that easier if I tried. Hello, hello. Welcome. I almost made cheese a goldfish just to match the whole being cheese themed. But then I decided to make her blue. Because that could also be a joke of being blue cheese. Plus, I think it was because of apricot that I refrained from making her yellow or orange. Because apricot kind of covered that category. Or covered that look. So it was like, yeah, that makes sense. God, Sonic CD just feels like a fever dream sometimes. That and Sonic Shuffle. You know what? It's probably easier if I do it this way. Try to get the least amount of body as possible. Yeah, this is so much easier. Because I can just do this. And whatever cleanup I need to do, I can just do it directly. Hey, Frost. Oh, that's cute. I still remember when I was staying at a friend's house and her cat had like curled up and nestled between my legs because I had them in like a hoop sort of position because I was laying on my stomach and I just had my legs like that. And the cat got up and just slept in between my legs. And I was like, well, I guess I'm here forever. She was a good cat. And then Nano's cat liked me as well. And he would always come up for pets. Oh yes, if they fit, stay sits. Doesn't even have to be a box. Just they'll fit in anywhere they want. Or just put them somewhere where there's like a heater, and they'll be fixated on that. Now that I think about it, I had a third friend whose cat also liked me. Cats just like me for the most part. There is one cat though that's like kind of on and off. Like she'll like to play, but when she plays, she likes to bite. Even if it's like play bite, she kind of goes a little too crazy. So you kind of gotta ease her into it. But usually I just give her pets and she's pretty chill. But she will disappear like 90% of the time. Probably gonna have to zoom in for this part. Yeah, I've seen situations and stories and also videos of like people who, or like men or dads or whatever, who just like they're like 100% against getting a cat or wanting to interact with a cat, and then you put them in a scenario where the cat just chills with them or he has to watch the cat for whatever reason, and then they just become best friends. He's like, no, we're not getting a cat. A few days later, or however long later, just chilling with the cat. The cat's just like curled up on him. Oh yeah, those moments where you're in an area with just a fuck ton of cats, and they all come running. I mean, there's an island in Japan that just has nothing but cats. It was either an island or just like a certain area. Can't remember if it was like an island or not. I think it was an island. I might have to do this one eye at a time. Actually, I can do it this way. All of them are hers? Jesus. You just be like, ah! Ah! Like, why must this be? But nah, it's probably nice. Be like, kitty! It's not gonna work the way I'm thinking. Actually, it would be easier if I did it this way. That way I can see. That's funny. Alright, have a good night or day. Hope you feel better. I want to try something, but I need an old file. Question is it in here? Yes, it is. Dun, dun, dun. This is mostly what I need. Okay, you were using that. So then that means, oh, this is color burn. Interesting. Huh. Okay, that's all I needed to know. Let's try this method. See how I feel about it. God, I love the music from this era. We don't get this kind of music in games very often or at all anymore. I mean, probably the same that they made for computer games and all that. Like, probably simple low memory files, or like very compressed files at the time. Like simple loops, or just music that was like small enough to fit into the game. Like whatever the limitations were. Yeah, that's why they sound different when you hear them like in their uncompressed form. You're just like, whoa, that sounds weird, and then you realize that it sounded the way it sounded because it was just super compressed. So sometimes hearing like uncompressed versions of songs is just like whiplash. Yeah, like I like that they are different enough that they basically count as like a different song. So you just have two versions. It's like, oh, here's this song, compressed version, and then it's like, oh, here's the uncompressed, and you can like immediately tell the differences, even if they're just like subtle. Like they're not that big of a deal, but it's just, you know, it's different. It's interesting. Nice little treat. Yeah, I'm doing the shading in a different way this time because I have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different shading methods. So I'm trying this one because it has a particular look that I like, and I'm trying to see if I can manipulate it more because I'm gonna be like mixing methods together to see if I can come up with something new. Because like I've kind of streamlined my methods a bit, so that way it doesn't take me as long to do. But obviously there are some differences between them, so I'm trying to see if there's like another method that I can try. This method takes a little bit longer just because there's like 3 extra steps added. But the end result isn't bad. Like, I think this was the method that was used for one of the Fat Tiffany artworks from the Weight Gain Drive that I did a while back. But I want to see if I can tweak it since I've learned other methods since then. And technically this method is a little off because instead of using the gray, I can use her actual color and change that to grayscale. So I might give that I might do that method if what I'm looking for doesn't work. Oh, I just did it manually. Like, see, all this is gray. It's just this gray right here. And then like all these colors are just other stuff that I've been experimenting with. So like I should probably name them at some point so I can remember, because some of these colors I'm like, fuck, what I use these for? But it'll come to me whenever I figure it out again. I'm like, shit, what was this for? But yeah, I just did it manually. But there's like 3 or more different ways of going about it, so just like whenever you're figuring out methods for different ways of drawing and all that, just use what works for you. Like, that's the fun part with art, is that there's so many ways to get from point A to point B that it's like ridiculous, because all the audience will or followers will see is the end result, but for you, you'll be like, dude, I did this technique to get this, and that's how it ends up looking like this. And then it's like, oh, I figured out that if I do this and this, I can get to this result faster instead of doing the other method that took 30 minutes. It's like, there's so many ways to go about it. Sometimes. It just depends. Depends on what I'm going for. So, like, let me bring up another artwork so I can kind of explain one of the methods. Let me bring up something that was recent. I'll use the pineapple artwork. Let me find it. So, where are you? So, like with pineapple, let me turn off some of the effects on her. Turn that off. Okay, so with pineapple, it's like, you know, I have her. Oh wait, hold on. Turn these off. There we go. Okay, so I have her like her basic, you know, flat coloring. So for the shading, let me turn these off. So for the shading, for this layer, all this is just this dark purple right here. All it is just dark purple put on multiply, and then in her case, I turned down the opacity to 80% just because her fur is rather dark. So like if I put it at 100, she would look like this, which isn't completely bad, because when I turn this on, this is just like this layer that's above it now. All this is her flat colors tweaked a bit. So let me show you what I mean. So let me get rid of that. So right here, so here's our flat colors. All I'm doing is just adjusting the hue and luminosity, or luminosity. All I'm doing is adjusting it and then linking it to the previous layer. So let me move that away, and just linking it to the multiply layer. And all it is just giving it like a different shading tone. And then I just did the same for this and just changed that. So that way I'm still getting the shade, but it's like not as intense, but it's like it's using like the colors that I used for her. And that's how you get that. And then I just add like overlay for some of the lighting stuff, screen for some of her highlights, and then I would use add glow for more highlight stuff, or backlight, or light source stuff. So yeah, it's just tweaking, and that's just like one method. Hello, hello. Yeah, like at 100, she's like pretty dark, so I like lowered it a bit to just 80%. So she's just a little bit lighter than normal. But again, that's just one method. There's so many ways to go about this. And then I threw on like more layers. So like this is like to change her lighting a bit. What else did I do to her? I added like effects to her line art, so it kind of gives like a 3D feel. Then I like blurred her artwork, so it gives her like an anime vibe, and then added like a texture above her, so she has like, you know, like a gradient tone or a texture tone on her, or a texture layer. But again, there's like so many ways to go about this. Just slowly you'll learn what works for you, and sometimes you'll figure out, you know, like methods that you're interested in, like anime or Western or cell shading and whatever else. So it's just trial and error. That's all you can really do, is figure it out. Yeah, the rainbow is just a layer that I use the rainbow bucket tool. So like, let me grab it. Or gradient layer. So like, for this, let me just make another layer. All it is this. That's all it is. And then I just changed it to like overlay or add glow or whatever I was doing with it. So yeah, it's not even complicated. It's just basically just experiment with all of the layer effects, and whatever looks good to you, that's what you'll use. Yeah. Like again, trial and error. Like there are effects that I'm like probably won't even remember using because they would be like some of the least used ones that I touch, but it makes something look cool. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's it. That's all that matters, is just like, hey, is this cool? Or does this look right? I mean, everything is subjective. Like, there are some objective rulings to art here and there. Like obviously, if you're trying to be realistic with anatomy, then there's some things that you can't ignore. But the whole point of learning anatomy is so that way, when you draw a character, you can simplify or skip details that are unnecessary, or manipulate it in a way that is to your liking or to your style, or like manipulate it so that it's like looser or whatever goal you're trying to go with it, but make it still recognizable. Whereas like, okay, that's the arm, or that's the elbow, or oh, I know where that muscle is from, or located, or I know where that spot is. So yeah, you want to learn all these things so you can mess with it. Okay. Almost got everything I want with this. Kinda want this a little bit bigger. Should be fine. Although I want to clean up this area. Oh yeah, they do that all the time in art. Like, let me see if I can find it real quick. Because, like, the whole point of that is just playing with shadows. So let me see if I can find it. Come on, Drive, wake up. Because they do that in everything art related. Let's see, references, where is it? Have it somewhere around here. It's either in here or it's in like a art book that I have on here. No. Might be in that art book that I'm thinking of. Yeah, let me find it. Might be in this folder. And now the question is, what was the name of the book? You know what? I can find it this way. Here we go. So let me just save this. Now let's put it over here. Open. So like this. Like there's so many ways you can make shadows like threatening and intimidating. So yeah, just play around like and look at life examples because you'll get stuff like this. So yeah, just look at references and or even just take a flashlight and put it on your and aim it at yourself in like a dark room with a mirror, and there you go. You'll have plenty of examples on how it works. Like using yourself as a reference helps out dramatically because it's always like an immediate go-to. You're like, oh, how does this hand work? Just go to a mirror, put out your hand, try to memorize or even take a photo of the position, and there you go. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to figure it out. Clean up some of this. Sometimes having it on low opacity when I'm doing that is not the best idea, because I'll miss details like this. But they're easily fixed. It's mostly just clean up stuff. Yeah, just use yourself if possible, or if you can find an example online, use that. Like, life has the best examples, as well as like other artwork as a reference. It's like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and then you just keep that in mind. Like, don't like trace or anything like that unless it's like something stupidly complicated and you just can't wrap your head around it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're not like tracing the entirety of the artwork and trying to just basically I wouldn't say steal is the word for it, but you know, like you're losing out on learning. But yeah, like tracing is basically like a last resort type of scenario. But as long as it's not like the majority of your artwork, then you should be fine. And I don't think most people would really notice if you're just like tracing a foot or a hand or something. They probably wouldn't even notice or care, but as long as it's not like something's really recognizable, then you should be fine. But yeah, definitely use life as references and stuff like that, and use yourself if you're able to get into a particular pose. Oh yeah, I have the art book for that. Yeah, I have that. Fat and skin folds. But yeah, you can just look at life too, just type in fat people or whatever, fat anatomy, and you can find plenty of references about that too. Right now I'm just cleaning up some of these areas. I think I got everything now. But yeah, you just have to understand how fat works and stuff like that. Like, I'll probably slowly become more realistic about how fat actually works, and not like, or not even that. It's just more about anatomy placement. Like, make the character not look as if they're taller type of situation, because that's not how it actually works. I just tend to do that when there's nothing to reference that they're supposed to be short, or they seemingly look tall. Oh yeah, E621 is definitely useful for looking for something ultra specific. It's like, I'm looking for this, goes to E621, there it is, and then it just boils down to the particular position of what you were looking for. this on our collar. Another thing that would help is breaking things down into shapes, if you haven't been doing that already. So like if you can't figure out something, just break it down into shapes. Yeah, basically, I think the idea of that is just, you know, you can't dwell on what you didn't do or whatever mistakes you've done and all that. You just kind of gotta move on and just try to do better with the time you do have, and like don't hesitate to make something. Like if you're setting, like it's fine to plan to make something for a certain amount of time, but you don't want to like waste too much time, because there's going to become a point where either the idea that you had is either harder to do, or you just, you know, don't have the time and resources for some reason, or maybe the idea is harder in some way, like, or possibly somebody came up with the idea on their own and now you're sitting there trying to figure out what to do with yourself because you spent so much time on a particular idea, but then somebody else did it. So it's better to just put it out there and tweak it as time passes, so that way you can still work on it and keep going. Well, that's cool. Thank you. I like Kitty Cat's Will. I drew her at one point. Like, I think it's over here. Yeah, I drew this like a while back. Probably some things that would change nowadays, but this wasn't too bad. Yeah, you too. Have a good weekend. I've only worked on 3 movies. Yeah. You don't want to get stuck overthinking. That's been my problem every once in a while. Mostly when I'm starting something new. Because I can think of so many ways to go about it, but I obviously can't do them all. So I'm trying to I try to pick the best route for the idea. And then of course if it's like something that requires a lot of time and effort and patience and all that, it's also harder because like for example, say I want to make a video of something or animate something, I gotta make the assets and stuff like that, and that can be time consuming. Or in the case of regular animation, that's like dozens and dozens and dozens of images and frames and all that. So you just kind of have to pump yourself up to go through with it, and sometimes that can be a challenge. Okay, so did all this. Let's make some tweaks. Now this step it probably won't take as long, because this part would be a bit of a rush. Because if I wanted it to be one-to-one the same as the normal shading, then I might as well just copy and paste the shading layer. I at least want the rough look of it. No, this is just regular purple right now. And all I did was just change the opacity to 50 just so I could see what I'm doing. The layer beneath it is just the grayscale layer set to multiply, and I just tweaked the opacity because I don't want it to be super strong, but it's still noticeable. I mean, it's at like 80%, so it's pretty strong on it, but it's doing the job that I wanted to do at the moment. But we'll see if I use the flat color layer on this layer to manipulate, but I mostly want to keep the blue or the purple. So if I do use the flat colors to manipulate the layer, I'll probably use it on another shading layer. But again, I'm experimenting right now, so whatever it is I'm doing may not be part of the end result. But yeah, this is a learning moment. I think I got most of what I was looking for. And then there's this. This might be too strong, so we'll switch to this one. And the question is, was this the overlay, or am I thinking of something else? Back to this. What did I do? See, this is the bright side of keeping your layers, or keeping your files, so you can go back and see what you did. Okay, this would be burned. Alright. What was this? Don't do that. Yeah, that's what I thought I did. But see, it might be a little bit too much, so let's see what happens if I use the flat colors for this. Just gotta manipulate it. See, that's not too bad either. That's on overlay. Let's see how it looks as a multiply. It's not bad, but I don't know if it's what I'm looking for. Because I want that purple. You know what? I'll keep the layer, but we'll save it for something else. Because it could be just more tweaking on my part that I need to do. But let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's pretty much the point. Because from in the lore of where she's from, her and the other characters like her are purposely flat colored. So like, I wonder if I could find a reference to that, or not a reference, but I wonder if I can show the page. Greenfield. Episode 4. This should be fine. So, this character is purposely more detailed because she's like a god. She's from like the normal timeline and universe and all that. All the other characters are flat color because that's how they're designed in this particular story. So they're just in like another plane of existence. So that's basically the point. But that doesn't mean I can't make them detailed for fun, unless it's necessary to make them that way. But yeah, lore-wise, they're supposed to be flat color. With either little or no shading. Yeah, like unless the comic is just in a particular render style, just like on purpose, most of the time the god characters will be in their rendered state. Because that way it'll help explain, like, okay, in like, because even in one of my other comics that's in black and white, one of the gods shows up and she's colored and in rendered. So under normal circumstances that shouldn't be the case, but because it's to have her stand out, she's given that look on purpose. And it's just like a small detail, like I don't like outright say in the comic that that's the case, but that's just how I personally treat it. Unless there's like a particular art rule that I'm going by. But it's more of a me thing, like, unless like somebody asks me why is it like that, there's like nothing in the comic to explain it. Because it's just like it's just unnecessary to explain, because it's just more of a visual thing. Oh yeah, it was fun. I still need to work on World Gates, but that along with Buckle is getting a rework and rebooting, because there's just like, because once I started working on iHat, a lot of things got changed and reworked and more clarified. So now looking back at them, at the other comics, the older comics, I just feel that they need a change. And it wasn't like either of them got super far. Maybe World Gates got a little bit decently far, but they didn't get to a point where it's like we're in like the deep parts of the plot or anything like that. So it's better that I do it now and get it over with than to try to move on with what I have, but then it be inconsistent with the changes that I've made up until this point. So I'm just trying to keep everything like consistent in canon. It's in iHat Secrets, but publicly publicly we haven't gone to that page, but on Patreon and Subscribestar, they've gone to that page already. But yeah, it's just a small detail. And it's completely like irrelevant to the plot. Like there's nothing to explain it. It's just there. It's just a detail for specific characters. And like, was it necessary? No. I just felt like doing it. Now let's see how this looks. Like, it's not bad, but it's not what I'm looking for. This was on color burn before, so what does that look? It's just darker. It's not that big of a deal. This could also be the case where I can make 2 layers and make this one the multiply. And then this one would probably go over it. Oof. Actually, don't need that. Yeah. Yeah. Not entirely what I'm looking for, but not a bad thing either. Like I said, this is just messing around and trying to learn something new. So don't need that layer. This can probably be toned down a bit. Or you know what? Put this back. And maybe this can be toned down a bit. Because there's this. I can also do this. So let me go back to this layer and turn this off for a moment. Let's take the flat layer and then make another layer. Color this black. That wasn't exclusion, it was color. Combine these together. So we basically get a. Let me move this. So we basically get a grayscale version. And now I just have this here. Probably not doing anything useful, but figured I'd try and see if anything interesting would come from it. Nope. So turn this back on. So yeah, this will just have to be like lighting tweak stuff. But I don't want to dwell on it for too much longer. It's like I like the purple. Maybe it was just too much. Maybe I should just lower the opacity. Maybe that's why. Because I guess at 50 it seems. I'm probably overthinking it because I haven't done the other steps to it yet. So let me leave it at 50 and I can mess with it later. Don't need this. Sometimes you just gotta let it go and move on, and then come back when you've done the other steps. If I remember right, multiply just removes the lightish parts of your color choices. So, like for example, if I use the gradient, just make another layer. So if I did this, oops, wrong tool. So if I did this, here she is, black and white. And then if I use multiply, it just all it does is remove the light parts. And then depending on the color, will mess with how it looks visually. And then you can just tweak the opacity. So like for example, let me delete this. So say, I'll put it back to normal. So say I wanted her to look evil, I just make a selection to only cover like bits of her eyes, like go like here, set it to multiply, and then I can tweak the opacity to make it look like that. And then if I erase the parts of the layer, I can make it look like her eyes are doing this. Alright, maybe make it darker. So like if I have it at like 90%, I can erase these parts to make it look like she's being all menacing in the shadows. See? Hello, hello. So yeah, it's just all it does is remove the white or the lightish parts of the selection, or not even the selection, but just like the layer itself. But yeah, I've done that multiple times in the comics. But yeah, it's nothing crazy. And then I believe Screen does the same thing, but in reverse, so it removes all the black. If I remember correctly. I could be wrong on how that works, but that's just how it works for me, or to me. This is Cheese. She is from Creamfield. She can, because she can float, because she's a pseudo-god. So she can kind of do whatever the hell she wants, for the most part. I mean, there are obviously limits, but no, she does not need water. Alright, have a good day. But yeah, Jesus is part of this group. Let me bring them up. Yeah, she's just part of this list of characters. All of them named after fruit, with the exception of the bottom 5, which are named after a sandwich. Or technically a burger. Thank you. This doesn't be in the folder. Nah. Keep that alone. Don't need that. Okay. Probably just have her eyes glow, so she wouldn't have highlights due to her background. And I'll just give it a placeholder background because I'm going to call it for tonight. I'll likely finish this up off stream, but yeah, here she is so far. Still more stuff I'm going to do to it, but this isn't bad. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. I will stream again next Friday, same times, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, next month is definitely going to be busy because there's a lot of comic stuff and specials and whatever else I have planned that I'm going to be doing. So I am going to be busy. So if I decide I'm not going to stream next Friday, I will post on the Discord and all that. But yeah, you guys have a good night, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.